Fired.
And then he nailed it. Get him out of here.
I think he was right. And then at the end, I think the fans would have wanted the coach fired.
Right.
I don't think that the coach would have gotten fired. But let's live in just the criticism of the coach itself. Jeff, is it warranted?
Sunday was warranted. I mean, I think that it wasn't his best. Ooh. This team since the bye week has been a different football team and probably the best contender to take out Detroit Lions. And everybody's going to talk about can Sirianni. Last time I checked, Sirianni has taken this team to the Super Bowl. I think he has a strong chance if they continue to play in this realm to take them back to a Super Bowl. This is a good football team. They have a good offensive line. Their defense has played exceptionally well the last 4 weeks. They got, I think, 16 sacks. They've given up 4 touchdowns.
No one's questioning that. We're asking about the coach. We know they're good.
He doesn't get credit for any of that?
You tell me.
Absolutely he does. If you're going to take him for all the bad, you got to give him the good, man. They've run 2-to-1 ratio on early downs. They have one of the best backs in the game. Jalen Hurts has played significantly better since the bye. So if we're going to take shots at him, give him the credit for the good. And by the way, they did find a way to win. And if Barkley doesn't fumble it, I understand we're going to say, well, Trevor doesn't do it. Well, if Barkley didn't fumble it, it's not a question either way.
He was down anyway, but that's
so both of those guys have issues. Yeah. It's a player. That's what happens with players. But to say he's not going to do it, I think is a bit ridiculous.
Watching those highlights, it's easy to say, like, what coach could screw this up? I mean, Devontae Smith is making ludicrous one-hand catches in the back of the end zone. Saquon Barkley, is Nick Sirianni running reverse hurdle drills, like, during the week? And we don't know, like, I mean, come on. Like, this is an immensely talented team.
Great.
And, yeah, look, we've had this conversation about coaching, right? You coach throughout the week. All these coaches get judged on their in-game decisions, and it's a smaller part of what they do. Right now, his in-game decisions are not good. And he's on a bad roll with these. And I'm telling you, that's the kind of thing. When people look ahead, we know the Eagles are good. We think they're probably going to be in the playoffs.
I'm old enough to remember Andy Reid used to get the same type of criticism in game, bro. And Patrick Mahomes has taken him to 3.
Come back when Knicks won 3 Super Bowls.
Okay, well, he's gotten to 1 earlier than Andy. I mean, it's just, I get it. I think it's a bit ridiculous.
We have to grade them relative to their expectations, and I think that's the problem, is this team for the past 2 years, I think it's inarguable that they've underachieved based on the talent that they believe that they have. And we've tried to switch out coordinators, and that has seemed to be not the answer. And then in the course of this specific game, and I think this is fair to say of Nick Sirianni overall, is he is both too aggressive and too cautious. Pick a lane, Nick. You can't be both and then be making the wrong decisions. You're cautious when you're supposed to be aggressive, and aggressive when you're supposed to be cautious. And that's the part to me. I
didn't mind the first 2 points. You're trying to put a dagger in them. You know they're not going to come back. I didn't have an issue with that. It's when you start to chase because of it. Right. I understand, but I mean, give them some credit, man. If you're going to take all the shots.
Great that they're 6.
Okay. There's a lot of wrong there that's said, and it's making my head want to explode, quite frankly. First off, changing the coordinators was the right move. He just said that changing the coordinators wasn't the right move. Foxworth said that. What are you talking about? Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio have been amazing hires. I feel like I had to have almost misunderstood what he said, but he clearly said it. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? Kellen Moore has this offense booming right now. Fangio has turned this into a top defense in the NFL, whereas last year was awful. It wasn't good at all. The draft picks have been slam dunks. And Graziano, before the season even started, said, "Oh, Saquon Barkley's not that good of a running back. Look what he did in New York. He only had 1 good year." Yeah, how'd that age? How'd that take age? Right? So it's the track history on who the Philadelphia Eagles are is not exactly pretty accurate, right? The track history speaks for itself. So let's all settle down here, all right? I mean, my God. And you want to say that they failed expectations the last 2 years? That's not true. They went to the Super Bowl and they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, the dynasty of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. You want to act like everyone's just beating the Chiefs? Was last year a bit of a letdown? Yes, it absolutely was. But they lost both of their coordinators. That is a really, really, really difficult thing to overcome. Jalen Hurts was injured. A.J. Brown injured. I mean, like, I don't even want to go through all of this again. I mean, my God, it's just it's absurd at this point. I mean, it really is. So I'm not gonna keep rehashing 2023. We're talking about this year, 2024. This team is one drop pass away from being a one-loss team. And they lost to the Bucs because they were crushed with injuries. Just the way it goes sometimes. So yes, could Nick Sirianni be a better coach? Absolutely. But you know what? Most coaches could be better. Most coaches could be. I mean, we've seen Sean McVay make questionable calls. We've seen Kevin O'Connell make questionable calls. Matt LaFleur, Andy Reid. Andy Reid not as much now, but definitely previously. So, like, let's settle down here. Everyone knows that I am not a big Nick Sirianni fan. Like, I am not. I'm on the record. I could not be more clear than that. But this idea that we just want to keep bashing him on and on and on and on and on. Like, it's just not productive, and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Because the team is behind him. The coaching staff is behind him. The media here, they tried to act like Nick Sirianni was on the outside looking in. And the problem is that Sirianni isn't great at the mic. So he can become a very easy target. And he brings it on some of himself, like shaving his head, right? Bringing his kids to the press conference, yelling at fans. So he brings some of that attention onto himself. But when Saquon Barkley took the ball in, they were at like the 19 or whatever it was. I forget where it was, but it was like a 3rd and 18, and he ran in for a touchdown. I mean, Kellen Moore ran down the field as fast as he could, right? Clipboard in his hand, call sheet, and was chasing down Sirianni to like jump in his arms and celebrate with him. There's connection there. There's family there. I got news for you. Having, what Sirianni did in the Giants game, going to Saquon Barkley and saying, "Hey man, I want you to, break your record. Do you want to go do it?" Players love that. Love that. It makes them feel heard and seen. Just like you and I want to be heard and seen by our own friends and family and loved ones, players want to feel heard and seen. So Nick Sirianni makes his players feel heard and seen. That much is very true. So this is a very connected team. Do you want to see Nick Sirianni make better decisions in game? Absolutely. Absolutely. But if we want to just pile on all the bad, it's only fair that we then also address the good. I mean, enough of these one-sided takes. We could call out Nick Sirianni for any of the issues. But if you're going to do that, you have to be fair. You have to look at something from 360 degrees. Okay? You have to look at the good and the bad. So this whole piling on the Philadelphia Eagles just for the sake of because reasons, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, what are you talking about? It makes no sense. Zero. None. I mean, like, just stop. The Eagles were a play away from winning the Super Bowl a couple years ago. That's like Nick Sirianni's fault now? Like, I don't understand. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And now this year is this year. So everyone loves living in the past here. I mean, under that logic, file Kyle Shanahan. Fire him. Get rid of him. They have not reached expectations. The expectation for them is to win a Super Bowl, to win multiple Super Bowls. Have they done it? Nope. So fire him. Get rid of Shanahan. He's a bum. He's awful. He's done. No, they call out some of his issues, but then they also praise him for his positives. Nick Sirianni deserves that same benefit of the doubt, right? I do think this year for Sirianni, it is Super Bowl or bust for him, right? I do believe that. But let's kind of give him that, though. Let's give him that runway rather than automatically just kind of going against him, right? I mean, it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, honestly. Like, would Nick Sirianni been able to coach better that would have had them beat the Bucs? Would have coaching better been able to like keep A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert healthy? Like, I I don't understand. That has been the weak link of the Philadelphia Eagles this year. Health, right? Having A.J. Brown be healthy, Devontae be healthy, this O-line be healthy. That's been the weak link. It's been health, not Nick Sirianni. If you want to say when this team is fully healthy, who is the weak link? And if you want to say Nick Sirianni, sure. Again, we can have that discussion. I've had that discussion. I've called out Nick Sirianni. But it's just like every single week we're gonna do this song and dance, and it's just like I find it exhausting. You know? I mean, if the Eagles ended up losing that game, then I could understand maybe you want to blast him. But again, like it wouldn't have even been his fault. They got robbed on 2 calls. The 2-point conversion and the fumble. I'm not a fan of blaming refs. I'm really not, because bad calls have a way of balancing themselves out, whether it's within the game or within the season. There's probably been so many calls that should have gone against the Philadelphia Eagles but didn't, and you just can't even remember them, right? It's always easier to remember the bad calls than the good calls. So I'm not a big fan of that, but like for that game, at least in a microscopic viewpoint of it, that game shouldn't have been that close, and it wasn't necessarily because of coaching reasons, right? I just disagree with that. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles? Do you think Nick Sirianni is the Eagles' weak link? And do you think that the Philadelphia Eagles are a true Super Bowl contender? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.